Good morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning to you. We have lots of stuff in here today. Everybody's been busy. The royal family and more stories. Harry and Meghan have come out, and it's some comments from you guys. So let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're starting off. I told you guys about the documentary that was done in the UK on Channel 5 about Harry and Meghan. Well, several people commented that they watched it and it literally was a nothing burger. They made a lot of excuses for her actions and it just wasn't worth watching. All right. Number 2, the spitting image that I told you had come back and their episode was about Harry. Well, there's another one. There's the link for you. You can go and watch it. And number 3, I told you guys that I couldn't identify the people in the carriage with William and Catherine, but I received several emails and a couple of comments on my channel showing me who the people were that were in the carriage. You guys are fabulous. I don't know why when I researched, I was unable to identify those people, but there you go. That's who was in the carriage. All right, let's jump in with our royal news now. We're going to start off with Camilla. Apparently, there's a massive heat wave in the UK, but she started her day on this day to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Wiltshire Community Foundation at Manor Farm. When Camilla arrived, she was greeted or received by Dame Sarah Troughton. Now, what this place does is it funds charities to help them thrive and make a positive impact in the local community. So she was at a farm, which is run as an educational center by Jamie's Farm. It's the 7th site operated by the charity, which offers young people who are experiencing challenges at school different opportunities. Now, again, these events may not be in the right order, okay? One of the other places Camilla went to was the Lower Shockerwick Farm near Bath. And Camilla was there to officially open the latest site that was being run. Now, at some point, she went while she was at this charity. She had an ice cream to cool off. By the way, the foundation has been renamed the Wiltshire and Swindon Community Foundation. Okay, I just want to make sure I've got that clear. Anyway, they gave her an ice cream. I don't know what's going on in the UK heat-wise, but I will say it's just as hot here. If you guys are following me on my other channel, you know that it was 105 the other day Fahrenheit, which I think is 40 point something Celsius. So there's something definitely, happening with the weather. Now, of course, because it was their 50th anniversary, there was a celebratory cake, which they asked Camilla to cut. That looks really good, actually. Again, less is more when it comes to decorating. What a beautiful cake. All right. Camilla then, of course, was there for the unveiling of the plaque, as we know, and she gave a short little speech. Giving her a microphone is not a danger. Sorry. Okay, keep going. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Moving on. She then went to the next place. She had 2 events on this particular day, and the place was called Jamie's Farm, and she is the patron, and she went there to officially open it. When Camilla, who again is the patron of Jamie's Farm, got there, she made lemon curd cakes with 2 of the children there aged 11. While Camilla was there, she also toured their kitchen and unveiled a plaque to mark the milestone. Also, while she was there, really cool, she gave the founder and CEO a basket of produce and seeds from her personal garden to be used on the farm. Of course, she signed the obligatory visitors book, and a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what she was wearing. Let's move on. Let's move on to Secret Weapon Sophie. To mark the 30th anniversary of the Srebrenica genocide, she was received by a Croatian member of the presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina at the presidency building in Sarajevo, I believe it's pronounced, Bosnia. Sophie is wearing a white flower as a mark of remembrance on the left side of her dress. I love her outfit. I think she looks absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. She's beautiful. Yeah, you can see the white flower on the left side. So after taking all the obligatory photos, Sophie jumped right in. She first attended a meeting with the Missing Persons Institute of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which works across ethnic divides to find missing persons missing since the 1990s war. This is what I love about Sophie. She's really making a difference. And while she was there, she was also greeted by some family members of people that have been missing since the 1990s. When the first meeting was over, Sophie then visited Sarajevo's old town, and she was taken on a walking tour. And one of the more, I don't want to say interesting, but important sites that she visited was the spot where Archduke Franz Ferdinand was actually assassinated in 1914, and that's what sparked World War I. I love how she's able to just walk around the town, and just look at everything without a big fuss or muss. I love that. Now, the next thing she did was she visited the Christian Orthodox Church, which is located in Sarajevo's old town. And all I can say about these pictures is it looks like an absolutely gorgeous, ornate church. I love those kinds of churches. Now, one other stop she made was at the city hall, where she left a headscarf, which is part of a memorial that's supposed to be to the resilience and role that women played during the war 30 years ago. And one more thing, after Sophie changed clothes, I guess this was the evening, she met women who suffered a certain kind of female violence during the war. And we know that this is one of Sophie's projects. She has worked tirelessly for this cause since 2019. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us the information on both outfits that Sophie wore on day one. I'll keep an eye on this tour. Let's move on. Let's move on to King Charles, who went to Kent. And one of the places he visited was Walmer Castle. He was greeted by the Lord Warden and Admiral George Zambellis. And he's there to meet representatives of the Confederation of the Cinque Ports. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This castle is actually on the Kent coastline, and it's known as the official residence of the Lord Warden of the Cinque Ports, which is what I just said. It's a ceremonial title once held with great affection by Queen Elizabeth and the Queen Mother, who held that role from 1978 until her death in 2002. There were large crowds there, and during his visit, which by the way took place on Wednesday, the king toured the castle and its gardens, including the Queen Mother's Garden, which was named in his late grandmother's honor. It's thought that the castle was originally constructed by Henry VIII as a coastal defense fortress, but Walmer Castle has evolved over the centuries into a, domestic residence. It was a regular seaside escape for the Queen Mother after she was appointed the Lord Warden. And by the way, she was the first person in history, the first woman in history to hold that position. She was known to spend a lot of quiet days there overlooking the channel. This was one of her favorite residences. And there's a picture of one of the gardeners sitting on what was one of her favorite benches in the garden. After that, King Charles went to the Royal National Lifeboat Institute. This was his first official engagement since he became their patron last year. He watched an emergency drill going on, and just in case you forgot, the RNLI is a charity that is primarily run by donations and volunteers that run this. It's crazy. Now, King Charles was actually able to meet 4 crew members who were given an award for saving the lives of 5 migrants as they were crossing the channel. Please, I don't want this to be political. They simply saved lives. I think it's wonderful that they are being honored. As you can see, there were very large crowds there to meet the king. People really, really liked him. At least there they did. Now, he met people that were taking part in a community beach cleanup initiative along the coastline in Deal, which was the next stop that he made. Charles joined volunteers, cadets, and community groups in cleaning up Deal's Pebble Beach. The event was organized by Deal With It, which is a local environmental group that has been conducting beach cleanup since 2007. So Charles went out there and worked alongside the volunteers, helping to pick up trash. Now, he is supposedly the patron of Surfers Against Sewage. And of course, we all know that he has a very long history of environmental advocacy. He's known for his support of environmental causes, including his involvement with the Marine Conservation Society and the creation of the Sustainable Markets Initiative to encourage sustainable practices in the private sector. He's also made personal efforts to reduce his carbon footprint by converting his state-run vehicles to run on biofuel and adopting a mostly plant-based diet. All right, let's move on. Let's move on now. I could not touch on this. Prince Harry's ex Cressida bonus. It's like somebody took a stab at Meghan Markle, because remember, she just had an adorable little baby named Delphina Pandora, named after her sister. Well, everybody noticed the way she's carrying the baby in the baby carrier. So, of course, the comparisons came out as to how Meghan Markle carried her supposed child Archie in her baby carrier. The thing wasn't strapped on correctly. There were weird wires going around the baby's hand, as you can see, holding the baby's hand up to Meghan's neck, around the baby's left arm. The baby didn't appear to move, and people thought that she was carrying a doll. But whether it was a doll or not, she didn't have the baby strapped on correctly. That's so obvious. All right, let's keep going. A big thank you next up to this person on Twitter who pointed out that in 2014, Haley Duff had a cooking show and she had Meghan on the very first episode. Meghan has not reciprocated, but the interesting thing is this woman in her cookbook had a recipe for dog treats. That's right. Their recipes were not exactly the same. You can go online to the Cookie Rookie, and there is a dog recipe that is identical to Meghan Markle's, which shows me where she got hers. She did not come up with that on her own. Now, throughout the video, I saw a lot of behaviors from Meghan. Remember, this is really old. Number one, she wasn't eating here, but yet her tongue was out. And number two, we saw a lot of mask slips. She just couldn't seem to keep a straight face. And in the end, everybody was sitting around eating the food that they had prepared, and Meghan barely featured. So I have a feeling things didn't go well. All right, moving on. I wanted just to touch on this article. They're coming out saying that King Charles hinted he's disowned Harry because he claims he only has one son. That's actually not true. They're talking about the fact that King Charles gave a speech at the state banquet at Windsor Castle where he referenced William, and there was no mention of Harry. Why would he mention Harry? Harry is not a working royal. Harry doesn't live in the UK. Now, everybody is saying that William and Charles should meet with Harry. Please understand that every time they've met with Harry, Harry has released private information. At the Queen's funeral, he released a private conversation that they had. They cannot meet with him for any reason or speak to him for any reason, because anything they say will give him information to go to the tabloids with. And they understand that, which is why he's been cut off. Okay, let's keep going. We know that the Queen was absolutely dismayed by Harry and Meghan and their betrayal as she saw it. More information is coming out, but here's what we know. After they left the royal family, we all know they did the Netflix interview, they did the Spare, but apparently for Queen Elizabeth, there was one particular moment which left her feeling absolutely betrayed by the two of them. They gave their Oprah interview in March of 2021 where they made all the claims about, relationships in the firm and racism and their mental health and all of this kind of stuff. And their relationship with the royal family just came back into the spotlight after we heard about the conversations between Lady Elizabeth Anson, who's the late Queen's cousin, and Queen Elizabeth. Now they're saying that after the Oprah interview, ultimately the Queen felt betrayed by Harry when they attacked the very institution that she had spent her whole life serving. That was it. That was the complete betrayal for Queen Elizabeth. Now, it was shocking to those people who apparently knew Harry that he would do that, not least because Prince Philip was on his deathbed. That interview broadcasted March 7th, and the Duke of Edinburgh died April 9th, 33 days later. This was when the Queen put out the statement, recollections may vary, and they're saying that for the two of them to accuse an unidentified person within the family of racism, which cast the shadow of suspicion over everybody, was absolutely unforgivable in the Queen's eyes. And that's what prompted her to issue the Recollections May Vary statement. And they're saying that things were never the same after that. And it was just a horrible series of betrayals right as she was losing her husband and as she was coming near the end of her life. I agree. Let's move on to our final story of the day. We know that Doria was living with Harry and Meghan. Remember when she was doing that jam video? It's nighttime. She's cooking in the kitchen and all of a sudden she goes, "Hi, Mommy," in that little voice because Doria had walked into the kitchen because Doria was living there. Well, supposedly, allegedly, Doria Ragland moved out of the Montecito mansion. It's being reported that she moved out because she was using her mom to care for the kids. I don't believe that because after all, she had a nanny. Meghan had a nanny. Now, what's being reported is that Meghan and Harry are struggling to adjust without her. What's being said is that she moved in early 2024. I think she's always lived there, but she lived in the guest cottage. Anyway, she moved in 2024 to help them because they were having all kinds of professional setbacks and personal challenges. And she was there to be the steadying influence. But now that she's gone home, it's being reported the couple is actually bereft. That Doria was the steady support for Harry and Meghan. And she gave them all this emotional strength. But she has her own life, her own social circle. And she's getting sick of her daughter's constant moaning and drama. So who knows if it's true. Do I honestly think she howled, "Don't leave me"? No, sorry, I don't. If anything, she probably threw her out. You guys know I want your comments. Put them down, make them good. You know I'm reading them. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.